On September 27, 2025, a decades-old friendship between Canada and the US faces its toughest test yet. What was once a model of cross-border cooperation is now at a crossroads, as political and economic tensions threaten to unravel years of trust and shared prosperity. The world watches as two of the globe's closest allies find themselves on opposite sides of a growing divide. British Columbia has introduced the Economic Stabilization, Tariff Response Act, giving itself the power to impose tolls on American trucks heading to Alaska. This unprecedented legislation is more than just a local policy. It's a calculated response to mounting U.S. tariffs and economic pressure, and it marks a dramatic escalation in the ongoing trade dispute. This isn't just policy, it's a bold move in a growing trade war. The act has sent shockwaves through both countries' political landscapes, sparking heated debates in Parliament and on the streets. Truckers, business owners, and everyday citizens are left wondering what the future holds for cross-border commerce. For years, the highways connecting the US and Canada have symbolized seamless economic integration. These routes have carried billions of dollars in goods, supported countless jobs, and fostered a sense of unity between neighbors. The border was more than a line on a map, it was a lifeline for communities on both sides. Now those same routes risk becoming choke points, threatening the flow of goods and trust between nations. Delays and uncertainty loom large as businesses brace for higher costs and potential shortages. The ripple effects could reach far beyond the border, impacting supply chains across North America. The legislation is a warning. If U.S. economic pressure continues, Canada is ready to respond, even if it means disrupting Alaska's supply lines. For the first time in decades, the stability of the northern corridor is in question, and the stakes are higher than ever for both countries. This is a rare moment where a Canadian province takes center stage in an international dispute, signaling just how high tensions have risen. The world is watching British Columbia's bold stance as the province becomes a symbol of resistance and resilience in the face of external pressure. The big question, is this a temporary tactic, or the start of a new era of division along the world's longest undefended border? As leaders on both sides weigh their next moves, the future of North American cooperation hangs in the balance, and the outcome could reshape the continent for years to come. The roots of this crisis stretch south to the White House, where a single decision can send shockwaves across the continent. In Washington, the mood is tense, and the world is watching closely as the United States reconsiders its trade relationships with its closest allies. President Trump, never one to shy away from controversy, has revived his tariff playbook, threatening sweeping new measures that could upend decades of cross-border cooperation. His administration's rhetoric is blunt, signaling a willingness to escalate economic tensions in pursuit of what he calls fairness for American workers. Trump's threat, a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods, lands like a thunderclap in Ottawa. For Canadian officials, this isn't just tough talk, it's economic aggression, a move that could disrupt supply chains, raise prices, and put thousands of jobs at risk on both sides of the border. Canada's response? Swift and united. The federal government, provinces, and territories quickly set aside their usual differences, recognizing the need for a coordinated defense. Prime Minister Trudeau steps up to the podium, vowing immediate retaliation. He calls the U.S. plan a very dumb thing to do, emphasizing that Canada will not be intimidated or forced into a bad deal. Provinces are empowered to act, each taking bold steps to defend their economies and send a message of resilience. The sense of urgency is palpable in legislative chambers across the country. British Columbia's Premier, David Eby, frames the new tolls as a defense of Canadian sovereignty, not just a matter of dollars and cents. For BC, it's about standing up for the province's rights and protecting its people from unfair pressure. By targeting Alaska's vital supply route, BC hits a strategic nerve, reminding the U.S. that its northernmost state depends on Canadian cooperation for essential goods and services. Ontario, meanwhile, slaps a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S., leveraging its role as a key energy supplier and signaling that trade disruptions will have real consequences for American consumers. In the Yukon, officials halt all American liquor purchases and government contracts, a symbolic but pointed gesture that even the smallest jurisdictions are prepared to act. This is a true Team Canada moment. Provinces and territories, often divided by politics or geography, now stand shoulder to shoulder, united in their determination to push back against U.S. protectionism. The message is clear. Canada won't be bullied. From coast to coast to coast, every region is ready to defend its interests and show solidarity in the face of external threats. The result is a complex, high-stakes standoff that's reshaping North American trade. As both sides dig in, the world waits to see who will blink first and what the future holds for this critical relationship. For Alaska's 730,000 residents, BC's toll threat isn't abstract, it's a direct hit to daily life. While most cargo arrives by sea, the 10% that comes by road is vital: fresh food, urgent supplies, and critical equipment. Tolls would drive up grocery bills and risk shortages, especially for perishable goods. Alaska's oil and gas sector, dependent on fast truck deliveries, could face costly delays. The Alaska Trucking Association warns of a ripple effect: higher costs for everything from construction to retail. Governor Mike Dunleavy urges calm, hoping for a diplomatic fix before tolls become reality. For Alaskans, the message is stark. They're caught in a trade war not of their making, and the stakes are high. Alaska isn't just waiting to be squeezed, it's fighting back with a threat of its own. Senator Dan Sullivan warns British Columbia, "If you toll our trucks, we'll push to let cruise ships bypass your ports entirely." The Passenger Vessel Services Act usually requires foreign-flagged ships to stop in Canada en route to Alaska. But Congress has waived this before, and could do it again, cutting off BC's lucrative cruise tourism. Nearly 2 million cruise passengers are expected in 2025, supporting thousands of BC jobs. The loss would devastate cities like Vancouver and Victoria. It's a high-stakes standoff, disrupt our supply chain, and will hit your tourism economy. Both sides now hold powerful economic weapons, raising the risk for everyone involved. Turning the toll threat into reality isn't simple, but it's possible. BC lacks toll booths on its remote northern highways, but existing weigh stations could be adapted for fee collection. Commercial trucks already stop for inspections. Adding a toll would be straightforward. Legal questions loom, especially over the historic Alaska Highway, built as a joint US-Canada project during World War II. If international agreements protect the highway from tolls, BC may have to target other routes, complicating enforcement. The new law gives BC broad authority to set rates and exemptions, keeping its options open. The tolls aren't automatic, they're a loaded weapon, ready if the trade war escalates. Behind the scenes, officials are preparing to act fast if the order comes. BC's toll threat is just the tip of a nationwide Canadian response. Across the country, provinces and territories are enacting their own retaliatory measures against US trade aggression. Ontario's 25% electricity surcharge targets American consumers directly, leveraging deep cross-border energy ties. Yukon bans US liquor and limits contracts, while some residents call for banning American hunters. BC expands its boycott, pulling US products from government shelves, especially from Republican-led states. This patchwork of actions shows a rare unity. Canada's regions, often divided, now act as one. The message: Canada feels cornered, and it's using every economic tool available. The trade dispute has become personal, emotional, and national. Beyond the headlines, ordinary people are feeling the pain and anxiety of this trade war. In Alaska, there's real fear about rising costs and strained ties with a neighbor they rely on. In BC, pride in standing up to the US is mixed with worry, especially in communities dependent on American tourism. Truckers, caught in the middle, face new fees, paperwork, and uncertainty on the road. Many feel like pawns in a political game they can't control. Business owners on both sides warn of mutual harm if the conflict drags on. Amid the tension, leaders like Alaska's governor call for de-escalation and a return to diplomacy. Voices of moderation urge both countries to remember decades of cooperation. The hope reason will prevail before lasting damage is done. This isn't just a trade spat, it's a test of the US-Canada alliance itself. For decades, the relationship between these two countries has been defined by cooperation, mutual respect, and a shared vision for prosperity. But now, as tensions rise, the very foundation of that partnership is being called into question. The open border, once a symbol of trust and friendship, now risks becoming a line of division. Communities that have long thrived on cross-border movement and trade are beginning to feel the strain, as uncertainty seeps into daily life. If economic threats and retaliatory measures become the norm, both countries could see their tightly linked economies start to unravel. The ripple effects would be felt not just by big corporations but by small businesses, workers and families on both sides of the border. Businesses may rethink cross-border ties, leading to costly, inefficient decoupling. Investments could slow, jobs could be lost, and the spirit of collaboration that once defined the region could fade. The solution lies with federal leaders. Only diplomacy, open dialogue, and a willingness to compromise can pull both sides back from the brink. It's up to policymakers to set aside short-term interests and focus on the long-term health of the relationship. A return to negotiation, perhaps under the USMCA framework, is the best hope for peace and stability. By reaffirming their commitment to fair trade and cooperation, both nations can rebuild trust and chart a path forward. Otherwise, a tit-for-tat trade war could leave lasting scars on both nations, damaging industries, livelihoods, and the sense of unity that has long set this border apart from others around the world. This crisis is a warning. Even the closest partnerships can fracture under pressure. It's a reminder that trust, once broken, is difficult to restore, and that the consequences of division can echo for generations. The world is watching. Will these neighbors mend their alliance, or let a new border divide them for good? The choices made now will shape not just the future of US-Canada relations but the stability of the entire region.